Allison Berger here with Be Terrific. We are streaming live from NAB 2017. And I think we must be getting close to happy hour because I am now joined with three lovely men in my studio. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Great, thank you.
I should have got us beers or something to start the hour.
That'd be pretty good.
It's never too late.
That's true, especially when you're in Vegas. How have you guys been enjoying NAB so far today?
Great show as always.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. It's my first time here, and I'm super excited.
It is fun.
Really enjoying it so far, definitely.
A little overwhelming. There's a lot going on,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
a big show.
Okay, so you all are from different outlets and companies. So why don't we go through and just give a little backstory and where you're from and what you're doing and how NAB is treating you?
Sure. So my name's Dan Pisarski. I'm the VP of Engineering for the Americas for LiveU. NAB is great so far. It's a great show every year. LiveU's here every year with a nice big presence, and we're excited this year to be showing some 4K streaming, which I think has a lot of applicability to 360 and VR, so that's my involvement.
Okay. Great. Edwin?
Hello, my name is Edwin Rogers, and my company is VR Video. And what I've been doing for the past 4 years is 360 VR production. So it's a very big passion of mine.
Yeah, very big at the show this year.
Yeah.
Nick Jacobovitz, VP of Strategic Development and Operations for All Mobile Video Digital Media. It's a mouthful, I know.
Yeah, you got it.
But anyway, just enjoying NAB, soaking it all in. We've got 2 booths in the VR pavilion, so definitely trying to show our wares in that space. And yeah.
So I really wanted you guys here to be able to talk about VR and 360 video, and we were talking about this a little earlier, that there really is a fine line of, what is VR and what's 360 and where does it split? So Edwin, why don't you go into explaining that? Because some of our viewers, they might not know the difference really well.
Yeah, so I think one of the things people often ask is like, do you edit 360 video or VR video differently? But at the end of the day, it's just an MP4 file. And the aspect ratio, instead of being 4:3 or 16:9, is 2:1. And so it's a big rectangle. And the difference between 360 video, for example, and VR is just a matter of whether you're viewing the same content on a headset or you're viewing it on a desktop or an iPad. When you're viewing it on an iPad, it's technically not VR because you're not immersed in another experience. But if you have it on a headset and you're in Paris, you're getting a VR experience.
All right, interesting. Now, any of you can answer this. So this is kind of virtual reality's second time around, if you will. What makes this time different than in the past? Is this time the time that it's actually going to stick and make its mark?
I think so. I think it's the classic case of the technology has finally caught up to the dreams. So it was a great vision the first time around with VR. There was some early still image 360. I mean, you can probably go pretty far back to some panoramic 360 or panoramic still images, and then VOD 360, but here the technology has finally caught up. I mean, you can have very affordable cameras that are very portable. You can take anywhere and get great looking 360 video, and any more great looking 360 stereoscopic video that when you view it in a headset like VR, it truly has some depth to it. So it's a case of the engineering catching up to the dreams.
But you think we're finally there? Like,
I
do
think
we
so.
still have a few hurdles to jump?
There's always challenges. There's always new things to solve and fix. Resolution is one of them. Edwin and I talked a little bit about that earlier today at the show, that when you're looking at a 360 video, when you're looking at it through some sort of viewport, whether it's a 2D viewport and you're seeing it as 360, or whether you're looking at it through a headset and you're seeing it in true VR, you're only seeing a small portion of the original image that was transmitted. So that original image has to be as high resolution as you can possibly make it for that to look good. When you're looking at only one part of it, you don't want to see sort of standard def video, you want to still see HD video. For that little part you're seeing to be HD, the whole thing has to be way above HD. So 4K, 8K, that's where, and that technology is here as well, and of course very hot at the show, but its applicability to 360 and VR I think is very strong.
So how do you think you actually get over that challenge? How do you think we'll accomplish that?
So again, cameras were a big part of that. The cameras have caught up. But of course, I could talk to it from a transmission side, coming from LiveU. The ability to transmit 4K has caught up. Codecs have caught up to the point where you can do at 8 or 12 or 20 megabits per second, great looking 4K, or even getting into 8K. And even things like LTE networks have caught up, at least when you bond multiple ones together, to the ability to transmit at those kind of bit rates. So doing that kind of bit rate from the field used to be hard, now it's not so hard.
Yeah, I mean, even going back to early February, we participated in the Hyundai Super Bowl commercial, the 90-second spot that aired right after the game. And in that scenario, we had a deployment in Poland, transmission originating from Houston, and it brought families together with soldiers. In that scenario, we had to break apart the 4K signal, transmit 4 discrete 1080p signals, reassemble it at the downlink in Poland. Today, with the introduction of the H.265 and the HEVC stuff, that makes that workflow that 10 times easier than a lot of the struggles that we encountered just going back 2 months ago. So that's pretty exciting from our perspective, for sure.
So I've read that if you can dream it, it can be in virtual reality.
Well, I think there's virtual reality, the video game,
Okay.
kind of like 3D modeling elements, and then there's also like 360 video capture of reality. So, so there's 2 different elements, and yes, it's true. You can 3D model something that looks like a world like Star Wars or something like that, where ships are flying and you're in the future, and you can also capture the reality of being here today.
Which has been all over the place.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say, and the marriage of the two now, CG elements with real life elements, volumetric scanning and dropping someone into this virtual world, it makes that dreams into reality comment that much more, current.
And that's a really big thing at the show this year.
Yes, augmented reality. So there's 360 virtual reality and augmented reality. And as Nick was saying, augmented reality is kind of the joint of those two. So you shoot something in the real world, but then add something to it through a computer.
How do you think this fits into everything with, the live streaming? Are we going to have live streaming, virtual reality? Like, where are we going from here? What's next?
This is definitely happening now. For example, I did a live stream of the Women's March in DC. That got 3.5 million views in Facebook. And that was a 360 only viewing experience. Most people saw it on their phones, but a lot of people saw it on desktops, and 20,000 people shared that link. This is something that I often tell people, don't miss the forest for the HMDs, which is the head-mounted display. There are millions of phones out there, and having the ability to control the video on your phone is not going to go away. People love it, and it's just getting better, it's getting sharper, it's getting faster, and it's live.
Do you think it's changing the experience depending on which format you're watching it in?
For sure.
I would say the next generation phones with positional tracking will allow you to move within the VR space. So that's going to be a real game changer. We're all really excited for that because, location-based VR and creating these worlds, a lot of times it's a very passive experience. You're almost cemented in place, looking around, experiencing the world, but you can't really navigate your way through it. So a lot of the new technology is going to allow us to do that more easily.
Yeah, and I think interactivity in 360 and virtual reality is something that people crave. I remember 4 years ago when I started demoing these things, the first thing from a little kid to an adult would say is like, oh, can I run around? Can I move around? Can I do something in this space? Because we are used to, in reality, being able to interact with our world. And so adding that level to the kind of work that we're doing, it just enhances the immersion of the experience.
What do you think it is about virtual reality and 360 and augmented reality that is so, what do people crave? What does the consumer crave so much about that makes them want it?
I mean, personally, I shot my proposal to my wife in 360. And the reason I did that was because one day I'm going to be
you wanted
90,
those brownie points.
and I'm gonna. No, she was surprised, but because I was pretending that I'm just shooting we were in Costa Rica, and I was just shooting the background. But the reason I did that is because I know one day I'm gonna be able to put on a headset and see myself and be in that moment in time, and then. I also, shared it with my father-in-law, and I didn't have to explain where was I, what was I doing. I put it on and he saw it. There was no explanation. He was there at the moment. I think what people forget with the technical is the heart of the technology, and what you really get with virtual reality is an immersion into another time and space. It captures time and space in a bubble in a way that no other format can do.
Very interesting.
Even in the medical space, they've correlated VR experiences to lower pain scores, which in turn means less narcotics, shorter stays. So to his point, it's emotional, it's visceral, it's, it like you said, it transports you to a world that you might ordinarily never be able to go to, whether it's a sporting event or the front row of a concert or Machu Picchu, fill in the blank. It's the first time that you can really check out of wherever you are and check into somewhere else.
Is that do you think it'll be taking away people's personal creativity and their own imagination instead of just dreaming about the reality? They're now really living it. So are they gonna not pursue trying to live it on their own because now they can just spend so much money and put on a headset or watch online?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna enhance it. Like, I just went to the Grand Canyon and it was beautiful in person. I captured it and I'm sharing it with people, and that's only gonna make people want to go to the Grand Canyon. Yeah. I don't think that people are gonna say, "Oh well, I checked that off on my bucket list." I think people are gonna say, "No, I didn't realize how beautiful this place is. I'm not gonna be able to." Another point on what you were saying, I've been talking to like a medical center where there are kids that are trapped in a hospital with cancer. They can't leave the hospital for years, and they just want to experience their living room and be able to like talk to their family and interact. And so we're working on technology to allow them to, be in a VR experience, but actually be in another place and talk back and forth with their family.
What I'm hearing from you guys is there's really so many different aspects of it. It's not just, putting on a headset and chilling out and, laying back and just hanging out for the night. These types of moments are much more meaningful than that. And that's something, you're right, you can't bring that any other form or any other way.
What I think makes VR kind of special too is there's something for everyone. If you want a passive experience, you can select that option and just sit back and enjoy. If you want an interactive experience, you can choose that one as well. So no one's really alienated in this new world of VR AR, which I think makes it that much more attractive to a wider audience. I think the barrier for entry cost-wise is so much lower too. Like in the world of 3D, if you didn't have a few $1,000s for a set, well, you weren't going to watch 3D.
Right.
But nowadays, everyone has the screen in their pocket. With a cardboard, you're now fully immersed. So I don't know. I think all those things together make it. You had asked a question earlier on about is it here to stay, and I think this time the answer is yes.
For sure.
Because of all of the different draws to it and reasons for using it.
Yeah, I think the opportunities are far more diverse in terms of the options of content. Brands are getting behind it in a much bigger way. Manufacturers, the biggest names out there, Nokia, Sony, Google, fill in the blank, they're all behind it in a big way. I mean, you can see it. From last year to this year, the VR Pavilion has doubled, maybe tripled in size. So I think that speaks volumes to where it's going.
So do you think in the next few years, everyone's going to have a VR headset in their homes?
If not a VR headset in their home, some element of augmented reality in their life. What that looks like ultimately, I don't know. Is it driving down the street in an augmented billboard? Maybe. But I think you're seeing a lot of that sort of sneak into our lives in a subtle sort of way.
How long do you think it's going to take?
It's
Not
already
long.
here now.
Right.
Facebook is sending out 360 video content all the time, so it's in your feed, and so it's a matter of degree. I don't think everybody's going to have a VR headset or goggle, but I think that everybody is going to be able to experience a 3D content and 360 content very easily, because again, the barrier to entry is getting lower, the technology is getting faster, the quality is getting better, and the content, there's not just a handful of content creators like in the past. Now everybody's getting into it, and it's an exciting time.
And Dan, how does this affect you and what you do with live streaming?
So, as I was kind of outlining, it definitely has a big impact to resolution. I mean, the demands in terms of we need more resolution, we need higher bit rates are coming now kind of fast and furious. They were always there. That was always a pressure that was there in the live transmission space. But 360 is just sort of amplifying that to a big degree. And we have customers that are looking for kind of help with this. And that's where companies like Edwin's and Nick's come in. Because they're turning to it going, this all looks very neat and the technology has become very accessible, but let's face it, we don't know what we're doing. We've never done 360 before, so who can come help us? And I think that's where specialists and production houses that have a lot of experience with it can come into other organizations like news organizations and give them a hand.
And I think where guys like Dan are going to be helpful to us is there's a consensus that VR experiences only ever last a short period of time because there's an element of exhaustion, right? Your brain is working pretty hard to process the images that you're seeing, but as the quality improves, your brain doesn't have to work as hard, and I think those experiences will grow. The length of time, anyway, the amount of time that you sit in that immersive space will lengthen. I hear people say about 11 minutes is the average time that someone's willing to stay within that world.
Okay.
We'd like to see that grow, obviously.
Yeah, and when I shoot and produce 360 content, I aim for a 5-minute. Because I think that's a good amount of time, and I noticed that this is what kind of people like to consume in a headset. However, with that being said, the Women's March was a 3-hour live stream where the biggest problem we were having was getting a fiber line, and thank God we were able to get one. And that's what LiveU is going to solve, because then I won't be dependent on just a hard line. I could be able to go anywhere around the world and capture a really important historic event and share that with the world. And so people were looking at that content. First of all, hundreds of thousands of people were there, but they weren't close to the stage. And so they were able to look a little closer to somewhere where they were. And then other people were interested. There were, protests all over the world in seeing what was happening in DC, and so we were able to provide a window so that you felt like you were in two places at once.
Right.
I think there's no technology, period, that really makes you feel like you're in two places at once. It's like magic in a way, and
it's definitely incredible that we're able to achieve this. So what do you think the lasting impression is going to be on exhibitors, consumers, anyone coming to the NAB show this year and checking out the VR Pavilion?
I mean, I would say that it's the content is more accessible. If you're a producer of VR content, the technology has become more affordable, easier to use. So you'll have more people out there creating content. I think what we're most concerned about is bridging the gap between traditional broadcast workflows and VR workflows. They sort of operate in circles next to each other, and we think there's a bit of a Venn diagram there, and we want to live in the middle of that. So, that's my hope as a takeaway from people exposed to at least our two booths in the North Hall. But overall, that it's just, it's that much easier to participate in the space. It doesn't have to be some far-off goal that will take you however many years to get to. You could do it today.
Okay. Any other opinions on that question?
I think it's interesting that there's the VR Pavilion, but you can go even in any direction and see a Sennheiser ambisonic microphone specifically created for 360 sound capture. People are solving all these problems that we were having as creators for the past few years, and they're working independently, but it's all coming together now to provide much more immersive experiences. So I'm just so excited about being able to create a 3D 360 experience with ambisonic sound and just make the content better and more immersive so that people will want to spend more time on it.
Definitely, some of these demos that you can see at the show, it's just describing it to the guys, it feels like you're in the future sometimes. You're sitting in a demo and you just can't believe what you're seeing.
Right.
So I think people will walk away with a really wowed impression of where 360 is.
I definitely agree. Well, I'm glad the three of you were a part of my real reality.
Thank you.
Even though we've been talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, 360, it's all really exciting stuff that we can all take in at NAB this year. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank
you
you
for
having
having
us.
us.
And thanks, everyone. I'm Allison Berg with Be Terrific, and we'll see you soon.